Hey, Billy D, I got Greg Tonagel here. Ran into him here in the lobby at the, I call it the Crown Royal, but that's not the name of it, the Crown Plaza here in Kansas City. He got in late last night, so did we. So this is the kickoff 2024 Kansas City tournament interview. Thanks for giving me a few minutes.
Hey, excited to be here.
You know, it was, let's just talk about a moment, the Crossroads League this season, another, battle, huge battle right down to the end. Grace ended up just having, too much for everybody and ended up winning the championship. But just, I've asked you about it several times, but the competitiveness, just the quality of basketball in the Crossroads year after year.
Man, I love this league. It's so good from top to bottom. A lot of talent, but I think the coaching is what separates it.
Yeah.
I mean, you got to get better every year. That's what I feel like. Every year I feel like I got to go back to the drawing board and learn and grow. And this year was that again. Like, obviously Grace was a monster this year, but Huntington was good. Bethel was good. Marion was really good. I think underrated all year long. So a lot of respect for these guys and the way they've, I guess, pushed me and made me better.
Yeah, almost. I talked to several coaches. The way I describe it, coaching college basketball, it's almost like an arms race because you got maybe not 250, but you got at least 100 teams in the country that are watching what everybody else is doing, and they're all trying to catch the 16 that are here.
Yeah. And
they improve in the players, the coaching, everything. Right, every year you got to be better than the year before.
It's exhausting, Yeah. I mean, it's a sprint and a marathon at the same time, and then you get to the end, and it's like you go, and then it just crashes. I think coaching's like one of those professions where you don't know what to do when it's over because your adrenaline has run so high, and then it just abruptly ends, and it's like, what do we do now? Well, you get ready for next year,
Yeah.
But that's what makes it fun. I mean, there's no profession like it.
So we got to talk about the first round game with Columbia. You and I just talked a moment before we started. Those guys came to play. They were a 16 seed, came into Marion, and boy, they gave you everything you could handle.
Who seeded them is what I want to know. That's not a 15 seed by any means. They won their conference. Just look. I'll just say this about our pod. All 4 teams, or no, 3 of the 4 teams, not us, won their league. Columbia was really good, had good size, good players, conference player of the year. I think Coach Brock does a tremendous job. I mean, we escaped. We went in double overtime.
Yeah.
They could have easily won that game, and they really pushed us. And I was really impressed with Tennessee Southern. They won their league, ran away with it. The Southern States Athletic League or conference, and they had a great defense, great players. Playing at home is a huge advantage. I don't know what that game looks like on the road.
Yeah.
But man, I thought our pod was really good, and I was. It took everything we had to get out of that.
When I saw that pod of that regional, I thought Tennessee Southern would give you a good game. They played, like you say, they ran away with the Southern States, but Columbia obviously surprised me as well as a lot of other people. There's just so many great basketball teams, isn't there?
There is, and you can throw seeding out. In any tournament you can, but especially the NAIA tournament. I don't think anybody knew how good Columbia was, but as watching them on film and seeing that they won their league and they got the Player of the Year, and you could go across the country and say the same thing, and that's what makes it exciting, right? It's March Madness; anything can happen, and sometimes it's survive and advance, and that's what it was for us.
In that pod, you and I have talked about Javen so many times. God, his last name slipped my name.
Buchanan?
Javen Buchanan. Sorry, Javen. Well, you and I have talked about him so many times, just how he's just come on. And I think against Columbia, he had 37 points. The next night against Tennessee Southern, 30 points. You and I have talked about him before, but just talk about his play. But not only his play, but his progression as a sophomore.
That's the thing, his progression. And most of it's been mental. He's grown in terms of his mental toughness, his ability to focus. And it's all been self-driven. I mean, the kid's real hungry to grow and to become better, and you're seeing it on the court now. He's the leader of this team as a sophomore, whereas last year he needed to be led. Now, this year, he's leading people. The sky's the limit for him. I mean, I had a conversation yesterday with the Pacers.
Yeah.
They just said, look, he's on our radar. We'll be coming to watch him next year, and that's exciting. I don't think people understand the level of players that there is in the NAIA, and what these teams could do if you slip them into a lot of these Division I leagues.
Just a couple other guys I want to ask you about. You and I have talked about Cademan Bontrager several times. He never missed a shot. I saw he went 5 for 5 Saturday. He only scored 10 points, but he went 5 for 5. Unbelievable. What is he, 87% or something for the year?
He's a freshman. I think Javen's a sophomore. Cademan's a freshman. Those guys have a lot of potential, but they're working hard and they're buying in. Cademan's a kid who transformed his body in the offseason. He, too, is growing mentally, and I'm excited to see what he can do down the road.
The graduate you picked up, Nathan Childress, I know you lost. Who was it? Luke Spencer got hurt. Was it Luke
Brown?
Luke Brown. Apologies to Luke Brown. Doing this at 7 o'clock in the morning from memory. But you lost him early in the year, and Nathan Childress really stepped up, offered some leadership, and then Griffin Cleaver as well.
Yeah, I mean, we had high hopes for Luke Brown, thinking he'd probably be our leading scorer this year. He's a phenomenal player, transferred in after averaging double digits at Stetson. But then he goes down, and we just needed guys to fill it. Nate Childress was one who stepped in as a grad transfer. Griffin Cleaver had a great year again. It's just been at times just filling it by committee, and I think that's what makes for a good team when you're not just solely dependent upon. We don't need Javen to score 40 every night. We've got some other guys that can fill in, and it's a team effort, obviously.
So you're down here in Kansas City. You're prepping. I think Friday you play Arizona Christian, a team that I think they have a whole hotel block here. I mean, they're here every year. Jeff Rutter does a great job. Have you taken a look at Arizona Christian to see what you can expect?
Yeah, obviously, I've been watching them ever since the draw came out. I think Coach Rutter does a tremendous job. Yeah. We've gone down there to Arizona and played, and so have seen his teams and seen what they do, and respect a lot of obviously him as a coach, but just what they do. I mean, some of these guys have been to a Final Four, Elite Eight.
Yep.
They've been here, consecutive years. So they've got experience and they've got some good talent.
Yeah, Dennis Flowers has been with them all the way through, and they got Trent Hudgens. I mean, they're loaded up. It's good from a spectator standpoint. It should be a good game. So when you get to Kansas City, you're here. What is it? Tuesday morning. You don't play till Friday. What do you expect? What do the guys do? How do you prep them? How do you keep them ready? How do you keep them from getting distracted?
I mean, that's a great question. I think you want to get here and settle in, but you also want to, keep them on their toes a little bit and keep them hungry and not distracted. So there's always that balance of, hey, let's go do some fun things. Well, let's also stay locked in because we're out of our normal routine of going to class, coming to practice. And so we set up a schedule, I think, that keeps them busy, but at the same time allows them to have some fun because at the end of the day, I think going out there and playing relaxed is as important as being solely focused on winning the game.
I'm not sure how it works here logistically. Are you able to get plenty of court time? Are there practice areas set up for you and everything?
So the NAIA schedules all of it. You're limited to an hour, which at this time of the year, is probably appropriate anyways. But you don't get a ton of time on the court, but everybody gets the same.
Everybody gets the same, yeah. Well, Greg, I wish you a lot of luck Friday. I can't wait for the games to start myself. But thanks a lot for giving me a couple of minutes.
Appreciate you having us on.
Thanks a lot. That's Greg Tonagel, Indiana Wesleyan.